Very good morning, everyone. Charles here of Frgnt Daily Chart Analysis, Wednesday, the 12th, November 2025. Just approaching 7:15 Milano, so that would be 6:15 in the UK. Still pre-London Open, I should say, and just focusing on that chart analysis for the day. Now, what looks like, I must admit, an incredibly crowded chart. Let's make absolute sense of it here for you. So the analysis always begins from that weekly time frame just to see where we lie. Are there any points of interest that we have indeed approached or approaching, and how are we reacting from that weekly 50 EMA? So bottom right hand chart, what you can see already is the price has potentially already began reacting from that weekly 50 EMA. And if that is the case, then I'm quite reluctant to take long positions, as the theory is with EMAs, the previous weekly candle has closed below that weekly 50 EMA. So I expect this current candle also, regardless of its actions on that lower time frame, for example, if it were to trend above that weekly 50 EMA, I am of the mindset that at some point this candle will reject that weekly 50 EMA and continue to close bearish. So judging by the reaction already by this wick we see on that weekly candle, we can take the facts and make an assumption that that rejection is already occurring. Now, as we come down through the time frames onto that daily time frame, again, we're looking to find any particular points of interest from that daily time frame to superimpose on the lower time frames to see where a nice position could potentially arise in terms of high probability in regards to selling from the absolute highs and potentially longing from the lows. So in the top right hand corner, you can see the position that I took on GU yesterday. Again, longing from the lows, longing from a wick imbalance, longing from previous daily lows. We found that Asia had been filled. We then look for the turnaround in price, lower time frame break of structure into a 15-minute order block and a 4-hour order block before then taking that long position. So in terms of, we'll discuss both positions in the immediacy for you. So in terms of a long position, now looking at that daily time frame, we can see we were trending bearish, and now we're in a pullback phase. So after that lower low, lower high created, let me draw it for you, lower low, lower high, potentially looking for another lower low, or if this is indeed a higher high, we're still looking for that higher low before a potential higher high up in towards that daily 50 MA that has not been tapped actually on those lower time frames, but we are seeing a bearish rejection on that weekly time frame. So we are slightly in the middle. So although we have had a rejection from in and around the area, that weekly 50 MA hasn't been breached yet, and we can also see that daily 50 MA is that there is still quite a lot of room to the upside for price naturally to trend up to that daily 50 MA before rejecting it, and also rejecting that weekly 50 MA as well. So we got to be quite careful in terms of where we are taking our positions from. So if we are going to look for a long position, of course we would have to again long from the lows after receiving that confirmation and ensuring that we are on the correct side of the 4-hour EMA as well. And as you can see from that 4-hour time frame, price has most recently closed below that 4-hour 50 EMA. So again, with how I explained the rejection on the 50 EMA on the weekly, the daily 50 EMA, the same applies for the 4-hour 50 EMA. If I'm going to take a long position, bring your attention to the top right hand corner on that 15-minute, I know that my management must come before or at that 4-hour 50 MA. Coincidentally, it lines up nicely with the fact Asia highs are available, and we hope that they are still available come London Open. So if I draw that for your attention, we'll clone it and change that template to Tokyo to be filled. We can see that we've got a high confluence area just in that region to look to manage the position. in order to fill Asia, also mitigating the fact we're approaching that 4-hour 50 EMA as well. So that would be the position in terms of a long. I've isolated an area in which I'll now pull that down slightly and bring the alert slightly below it. I'd like this area to be broken in London, this Asia slight structure point. Once that is broken, price comes back down, finds an area of imbalance after a lower time frame break of structure, initially on the 5-minute time frame. Then I want the guarantee. I do want that cherry on the top of the cake today. Give me another 1-minute break of structure. Leave me a 1-minute order block at the lows here for me to take that long position from here. That will allow me to cover the previous daily lows. That will also allow me to cover previous imbalance areas where price found liquidity that took us into profit. So that position would look like something around these lines. Another 10 pip stop loss. I'll need to manage my position by that 4-hour 50 EMA, but mindful of the fact that I would be looking for Asia highs to be filled. So at least a 1 to 3 return would be available, and I'd be able to manage my position quite comfortably. So that would be the position that I'd be happy to take in terms of a long. Now, in regards to a short, again, it would make sense based on the fact if a 4-hour candle was to push up into this 4-hour order block, bring your attention to the bottom left-hand chart on the 4-hour time frame. If a 4-hour candle was to come up into this region, I would expect within that 4-hour then, we'd be searching for our entry potentially around that previous daily highs in this 4-hour order book that we can see. Once we've then found our entry on those lower time frame break of structure and imbalance, that 4-hour candle would then reject that 4-hour 50 EMA, leaving us with a beautiful wick to the upside indicating continuation sells. Now, with that said then, considering this order block has already been used and mitigated, I would be expecting the fact that we're on side of the weekly 50 EMA. Although the daily 50 EMA is considerably higher, we are on side of that daily 50 EMA. As you can see, price is respecting that daily 50 EMA. So therefore, I would expect a complete rollover, disregarding this area of interest here that has been mitigated, and I would expect price then to roll over from that order block down to these daily lows of which, previous weekly lows, to which I would be then looking for a long position. So my highest probable setup is going to be, in my opinion, a short from previous daily highs on side of that 4-hour 50 EMA as well. And we have that rejection from that weekly 50 EMA. So the weekly candle would simply have to pop up, find rejection on those lower time frames, 4-hour order block, and then I'd expect a rejection of that 4-hour 50 EMA and continuation short down to this daily order block you can see here in the center chart. Now, I hope that makes sense. My name is Charles of Frgnt Daily Chart Analysis. Thank you very much for your support across all the platforms and channels. Wishing you a successful trading day. All the very best. Take care.